one of those days. Anyways, I completely forgot what I was saying. Welcome to The Perspective, where we tackle conspiracy theories, supernatural beliefs, and if you believe in aliens, anything, give us a call. We want to talk to you about it. I'll be working behind the scenes today, but your hosts for the evening are your usual, who's here every other week, BrainBug. How's it going, dude?
Doing all right. How's it going on your end?
Good. And then making his debut on YFNA is Suris Skeptic. Suris, how's it going?
I'm kidding. I'm doing all right. I just right as that had ended, right as the last thing you had said happened, my stream started playing your audio. So I was like, "Oh, cool, more issues." But that was my end. That was my fault.
I can't tell you how many times I've done that, where I've had the video playing and not had it on mute, and then it just starts going over the audio, and I'm like, ugh. If you do have a supernatural claim, if you think about it, like if you have a ghost story or an alien experience, anything, call the number 951-364-2430. So, Suris, it's your first time here. Tell the audience a little bit about you.
My name is Suris. I've been doing YouTube for about 3 years or so. For the first 2-ish years of it, I spent using a cartoon avatar, getting better and better at learning how to animate it as I went. And then for a while, I did just like this right here, where I was regular myself. And then for the last month, I've been using a cartoon avatar again, but I've been told by Ethan, no cartoon avatar today. So I'm here without it. That's why I have gun. But I started out as just a atheist channel, doing the standards like, hey, let's deal with the people who believe what Ken Ham and Kent Hovind and all the fun Ray Comforty bunch say. And then I got to the point where I was like, wait, hold on. When people deconvert from religion, it doesn't suddenly stop making them assholes. They just find a different way to be an asshole. So then I went, okay, well, maybe I'll be atheism and politics, because people's politics tend to dictate their perspective more than their religion, or at the very least, as much as their religion does. So then I went, okay, I'm going to start studying politics, going into that realm. And so for the last good year and a half, I've been atheism and politics combined together into a single channel, which has given me a pretty unique comment section and a very strange community. Not going to lie. A community of people who are willing to draw porn of me, draw things of me in tentacles and suggestive positions, and draw me with boobs, which is why I finally just went and said, okay, if you guys are interested, keep drawing me with cat ears and boobs, then fine. I will just turn into a cat ear avatar with boobs. That's what you want. Okay, cool. Why not?
So we'll bring the fans in, right?
Yeah, basically it was like, hey, you guys designed this. I took fan donations and then sent that to an artist and said, hey, turn this into an avatar that I can puppet from behind my camera.
So when they were drawing you in these positions and pictures, they weren't drawing your avatar. They were drawing you?
It depends. Sometimes it was my avatar. Sometimes it was me. It truly and honestly depended on the artist.
It was never you and your avatar together?
Actually, that one exists too. There's also one that has every fan-created version of my avatar all in the same picture, and then me just being really uncomfortable in the middle.
Yeah.
No, you were actually the first person I have had on that I have not thoroughly vetted. It was BrainBug was like, I'm like, can you vouch for him? He's like, yes, I can. We should have him on. And I was like, okay, cool. I am trusting BrainBug's BrainBug at this point, but you do seem like a cool dude.
I'm not saying that was a wise decision, but I will say that it probably will be an interesting one.
Hey, I'm good.
Suris has done some call-in shows before. What shows have you been a guest host on?
I've been on The Line with Jimmy Snow. I've been on Truth Wanted with Objectively Dan. I believe those are the only two that I've been on thus far.
Oh, and now you can add this to the list.
I can. I would have been on Atheist Experience, but when everybody at Faithless Forum was heading to Austin in order to go there, because it would have been like all the speakers at Faithless Forum were going to have some way of working on the show. At that point, we didn't have a lot of money. So it was try to find a way to finagle going to Austin or go back home and get back to work and figure out a way to pay the bills. So we didn't do that. But I did have fun regardless. Got to meet Matt Dillahunty, Aaron Raw, and all the other largish names in that area. So that was still fun regardless. Just didn't get to do all the things I wanted to do.
Before we get to our first call, I just wanted to say, was there an update on your kitchen?
It is functional now. I have not tiled it yet, and nor will I probably tile it in the near future because I got to the point where I said, hey, I am happy that it works. I'm happy that there is no more mold. I'm happy that there's no 200 square foot hole in the ground that it used to be my kitchen anymore. And I cannot afford to take project time away again because the December, when I put the kitchen together, I had to take that whole time off of my channel. I was only able to produce stuff that was in my backlog. So as a result, it was the first month in the history of my channel where I lost subscribers net. And the amount of money that I made on the channel was also a pittance compared to normal as well. So I ended up having, like this month, I'm having to pay my mortgage twice and my power bill twice and everything twice because everything piled up. I'm okay having a month of steady work on top of the month where I had none. I'm fine financially now, but knowing what undergoing a project of that size did to me and to my channel, I am ill prepared to do it again.
That's understandable. You sound like you've had quite the experience. It's nice that now we can do a lot of this remotely. Like for most of my life, for most of my atheist life, I just wanted to meet some of these people within the community and like just to thank them. And never would I have imagined that I get to work with them. I mean, dude, when I co-hosted Talk Heathen just a few weeks ago, I was just like, my palms were sweaty. I was just like, this is so cool. So surreal, but it was so much fun. So it's really nice that we can work together with all these different people, all remotely now.
Speaking of one of those people, somebody actually commented on one of my videos that my delivery and mannerisms were that of Matt Dillahunty, and Matt just responded that I'm not sure if they're trying to give you a compliment or an insult. So that's been fun. Speaking of other creators we get to work with now.
Yeah. And we had a ton of them together with us on the fundraiser we just did a couple weeks ago. So again, Recovering from Religion, a great organization that we
do you know how much I found out the final number? We raised just over $8,000.
Nice.
The goal was 5. We hit 8. Like I can't believe we did that. Like, but I couldn't have done it without everybody behind the scenes helping out and all the amazing volunteers, the chat moderators, the co-hosts, the guests. Like there were so many people that were so quick to jump on board. But we should probably jump into our first caller. But before we do, remember, if you have a compelling ghost story, if you've seen a UFO, if any other supernatural beliefs or conspiracy theories, call the number at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to bring our first caller on, and I am going to get out of your gentleman's way. So first up, we have Franklin. Franklin, you're on with Brian and Suris.
Hey, Franklin.
Hello.
Hey, Franklin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
All right. So it says you got a supernatural experience. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. Let's hear it. What happened?
All right. So let me just say that I've at a young age I always had I would say I call it a curse, but my parents I would say and some of my friends say it's not. But one day I had to be about 12 years old, and my sister, it had to be about 2 o'clock in the morning, at night actually, and my sister was pregnant, but she was I'm gonna say she was maybe three months, and ever since I was a kid, I always get something would like wake me up to get my attention. I would say somebody or something. So I'm like, here we go again. I get up, and I can't really explain it to you, but an energy basically was directing me towards my sister's room. So I always go with the flow. I went towards that room. I opened the door. My sister was knocked out. And over her belly, I saw three kids, 3 babies, kind of like angels. They didn't have wings. It was kind of like a purple cloud with stars up at the top. And I'm looking at her in disbelief, like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. But then again, I'm like, knowing what I can do, it has to be real. So as I examined it a little closer, I looked closer to her, or a little bit closer, and I saw every kid up there. Like, it was 3 of them, literally. So the next day, I told my sister what happened, and I freaked her out because I told her, I said, I think I saw your kid. And she was like, well, what am I having? I was like, you're having a boy. And I said, and I also noticed that you had 2 other kids up there, and I feel like you're not telling me something, that I think you had 2 miscarriages. And she looked around and said, yeah, I did. And I didn't want to tell Mom and Dad. But yeah, I had 2 miscarriages. I said, well, one of them was a boy and the other one was a girl. I said, but in your stomach right now is a boy. And I said, I even know what he's going to look like. And I said, by the time he's born, and he's like maybe 6 to 8 months old, I said, I'm just for verification for myself. I was like, if this kid looks like the way I saw him in that picture, I know I'm not going crazy anymore. And all these years that summed up to this point, I felt like maybe I do have some type of ability to see stuff. And true enough, lo and behold, my nephew looked the same exact way as he did that I saw him, months ahead.
Okay. Interesting case there. Memory is a funny thing. The way it kind of, and we talk about this a bit on this show, but the way we kind of, because your memory is not a recording of events of your past. It's your brain trying to reconstruct those events.
I was going to say that one of the best ways to describe it is it's less like data and it's more like a program. Your brain has a series of things that it will do to reconstruct something, like a program executing on a computer. It's not like storing something into data. So that means that, think about any time that a program has crashed on you. It probably happens more often than when you've just tried to access data and it's gotten corrupted. Data corrupts at a lower rate than programs simply failing or executing incorrectly. That tends to happen a lot with memory.
Yeah, but it goes further down the rabbit hole than that.
Yeah, especially as we get older, our memory. But anyway, there were some other things about your story that I thought were interesting, though. You mentioned an energy. Can you elaborate more on that? Like pulling you towards the door? Like where was it pulling you from? From your chest? From your mind?
Well, no, it just is. I can't explain it to you. For example, like I have the ability to see dead people.
Okay.
If lack of words, there is a energy that I get, and I've been breathing for years. I even met somebody that was similar like me, and they told me that it's a force. And they said that they told me that I have a strong force within me. I have, kind of like Star Wars, the Force. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like your midichlorians.
The Force.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't really explain it to you, but I get the feeling. Hey, follow me. You know what I mean? Or come towards this way. I got something to show you. I've been in like my wife, for example. I can even describe people that I never even met before. You know what I mean? Like she told me about her uncle who passed away, and I kind of wanted to freak her out because she was peeing me off at the time. I'm like, okay, I needed to talk, because sometimes I need to talk about what I can do. And at that moment, I just felt like talking about it because nobody wants to talk to me. So anyways, make a long story short, I told her, I said, okay, I'm tired of this crap. I was like, give me somebody. Just freaking give me somebody I never met before. I told her everything about her uncle that I've never met in my entire life.
So while
She damn near
that's
pissed in her pants.
compelling as a narrative, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from believing something like this, what I would have to say is that for something like that, it's less compelling to me to hear a story about you telling someone everything about a loved one, and it would be more compelling were you to be able to demonstrate that to me or Brian here. For instance, if I were to give you a loved one of mine and ask you about the method of their death, and you do it at such a speed that you could not have done so by Googling an obituary or something like that.
I get
Otherwise, it's one of those things where, like, it's not that I don't want to believe you, because I, as a fan of fantasy novels and of just good fiction in general, I would love if the world were just a little more magical. That would be amazing. So for me to get evidence that the world does have a little bit of that magic in it outside of the we are multicellular organisms type of magic, would need something kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not to disparage what you're telling us is anecdotal. It is, I mean, anecdotal, but you're saying it's been independently verified, and I'm taking your word on that. The next question that would follow it up is, how can we demonstrate that? I know that you were able to independently verify it for yourself. How would you best demonstrate that to us?
I mean, I could try right now. I mean, that's up to you guys. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
most of
I'd be
the
happy
time,
to.
most people are stubborn. They don't want to talk. You know what I mean? Whenever things happen to me, people pop up on me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not just something that just, you know what I mean? It kind of depends on the day. You know what I
So-
mean? Stuff that happened to me, I thought I was nuts or going crazy.
So here's an example. If I were to give you a name of a past relative for me, would you be able to pull anything from them, commune with them, learn anything about them, anything like that? Is that a thing you'd be able to do here on this broadcast?
That's a thing I could do, but I tell you what, I've done that in the past, and it's hard to get rid of them.
Okay, so we've given you we've laid out a somewhat accurate method of at least determining the first steps of this. We're developing a hypothesis. And you've said that the complication, and thankfully the complication is not, well, it depends on the day, because that's a thing you get with a lot of people who claim to be mediums, for instance. Oh, the spirits aren't touching you today.
That's the thing. I don't claim to be a medium.
Oh, I'm using.
I'm doing so much. I'm at the point now where I'm still trying to notice or know things about myself and what I can do.
Understandable.
You know what I mean?
I was using medium as an analogy, not saying that you are doing
I don't
that.
even want to. Yeah, I'm not. I don't even want to consider that. But the friends that I talk to, yeah, dude, I'm like, no, I don't know, because I mean, I don't consider myself strong, but I've been told I was strong enough.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm just
okay. Then is that a I am not willing to try this because I can't get rid of the spirits once I do that, or I'm willing to try this, but please know the side effects?
Yeah, I would say no to side effect.
Okay.
Okay. Then I have a family member then. A grandparent of mine passed away, and their name was Joseph Sinclair Stauffer. My name being Christopher James Stauffer. That's not a dox. That name's in public forever. What could you tell me about them? Could you bring Joe up?
Say his name again.
Joseph Sinclair Stauffer. He would have been in Crestview, Florida, and he would have died about 3 years ago.
Okay, let me see. Was he a well, I feel like he was on a farm or something. I don't know.
So was he on a farm?
Yeah.
At some point in his childhood, he could have been.
Did he wear glasses?
Yes.
Wore glasses. I'm seeing overalls. I'm seeing a beard, mustache. Did he like trucks?
He was ambivalent to them. He would use them for working, but past that.
Yeah, I see a lot of trucks. I see a farm. I see like he worked with his hands a lot. Or I feel. He liked whiskey, didn't he?
I'd say he was a hard drinker.
Yeah.
Whether it was
whiskey
whiskey, I don't know, but
yeah, he's a whiskey and a bourbon drinker, or
okay.
whatever you call it. Kind of a hard ass, know it all.
Okay. So would you mind if I stopped you for a second?
Yeah.
So here's what you're doing. And whether you realize this or not, you're doing it. What you're doing is called a cold read. This is a thing that practically anyone who has claimed that they are a psychic has done, not saying you're claiming you're a psychic, but has tried to do at any point of time. They are fishing for information. Was he on a farm? Yes. Okay. Did he like trucks? Yes. Okay. People who like trucks usually work with their hands. People who live on farms tend to have vision that goes bad due to the sunlight, so they tend to end up having to have glasses more often than not because their corneas get hurt. Joseph Sinclair Stauffer doesn't exist.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
Wow.
I gave you a fully fictional person because what I figured was going to happen was we were going to get a cold read. That's what I figured was going to happen, but I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. But when I gave you an individual that does not exist, I gave you a lot of information that was true. I do have a grandpa that existed, yes. And at least the state was accurate, but everything else, holy bullshit. And you fabricated a person in your own head, or at least in your own mind to me, that was, through cold reading, a somewhat facsimilation of what could have been a potential grandparent for me by using very, very vague descriptors. I want you to...
Well, it could have been somebody you knew.
But I said specifically my grandfather, and I have not known a hard drinker, hardworking person who was ambivalent to vehicles in Crestview, Florida. I've only actually known one family individual in Crestview, Florida, and they're still alive today. The person who I gave you was purposefully a facsimile because I figured you were going to construct one through a cold read.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, other than that, which is a process that we're pretty familiar with, was there anything about your circumstances that stands out that would may be compelling to us?
I mean, I don't agree with what he's saying.
Okay,
but
we didn't expect you to, but
I've been put in circumstances like that before. And like I said, when it comes to certain people come to me. And I mean, I know I'm not crazy. I've sat right in front of somebody before, and they told me what I can and what I cannot do. You know what I mean? People throw stuff at me all the time. You never know who it is or where you get these vibes or where these feelings come from. So, I mean, I can't agree with what he's saying. It sounds like everything with him is science, or to a certain extent. But
I'm not saying everything. I've actually not said.
I really can't say that I'm rogue. I mean, I can't really explain it to you.
I mean, I don't think Suris is a physicalist. You're not a physicalist, are you?
Well, so I'm a physicalist insofar as I'm a methodological physicalist.
Okay.
I'm not a philosophical physicalist.
That's what it sounds like.
Do you know what a methodological physicalist is?
He said, I do.
could you define it?
I mean, basically, it sounds like you use methods so you can get an answer. That there's something behind, that there's a reason behind everything.
And that's a misnomer for the methodological part's a bit of a misnomer when you're talking about physicalism or metaphysicalism, as the case may be. Go ahead, Suris. Sorry.
So when I'm talking about methodological physicalism, I'm talking about at least Brian does have that right. It's metaphysics. You're like philosophically, I'm not a physicalist. I believe that metaphysically, in reality, there is definitely a potentiality for there to be substance dualism, for there to be other forms of existence outside of what we see physically. I think it would be ignorant to argue that only physical things can exist, only matters can exist, because it's a fallacy known as the argument from ignorance. However, methodologically, the way that I have to comport myself is through physicalism. Because if I were to comport myself as if I could interact with spirits, I could functionally access a different dimension of some kind, there's nothing, at least for me, to be gained from that, because there's nothing that's there's nothing demonstrable in that realm, in that supernatural realm, that I've seen that actually functions here. And one of the examples of them was right here tonight, where you had to use a physical method, cold reading, to construct a hypothetical supernatural being, one that did not exist. And I'm not trying to be an asshole when I'm saying, I'm not trying to be like the ivory tower big brain person. I've not even gone to college, but I'm just explaining what that word means, because what you've done with the word that I gave you was the same thing you did with the cold read, is you took the individual words, methodological and naturalism, and tried to use those to define what that term might mean after saying you know what the term means. But that's not what the term meant. You used a context clue, which is the same thing you do in a cold read. You use context clues to construct something.
And the reason I used said the kind of a misnomer is because it's not a method. Methodological naturalism basically it comes down to meaning that we can only test the physical world. We can only get empirical information from the physical world. We don't have ways to measure a supernatural, and by definition, we can't investigate that. So
the minute we could investigate the supernatural, it becomes the natural. Yeah. The category of it shifts naturally. That wasn't supposed to be a pun, but apparently I did it.
Anyway, Franklin, appreciate you calling in and talking to us this evening. If you have anything that might come up more compelling, definitely feel free to give us a call back.
Yep. No. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
I feel like I maybe came off as a bit of an asshole, and I didn't mean to.
You're just explaining that's what we do here. We're friendly. You're calling us to put a skeptical eye on your claim, and that's what we're here for. So we're not bullying you or being mean to you, or don't let it intimidate you from calling. We just kind of look at some of the natural causes that could be behind an experience that you have.
Suris, I didn't see that coming. I was literally, I'm sitting here and I went, oh, and the downfall to me screaming, oh, is apparently that whole time I had my mic on. So he was hearing my occasional quick bit comments.
So we didn't hear it on this, or at least I didn't hear it on my end.
I think the only other thing he heard is when you said, do you know what that is? And I was like, I don't. And that's why he replied with, he said, I don't, because he was quoting me. And at that moment,
okay.
Oh, man.
Okay, because it sounded to me like he said, I do know what that, or I do know what it means. And that's why I was like, okay, can you give me a definition? So now I feel like even more of an asshole, because I thought that the line of communication was, I do. Okay, can you define it? And then, okay, you defined it wrong. Brian knew what I meant.
Yeah,
because it's functionally methodological naturalism is what science has to use, and methodological physicalism is part of an epistemology. So Brian got it, but I probably shouldn't have walked down that track because I misheard. So,
Yeah.
oops.
Well, I was glad you took the time to explain it. And real quick, this is like the first time we have not had callers lined up.
Scared of Suris.
Baffled right now. Like, Suris, did you scare everybody away?
I'm sorry.
So if you have a ghost story, an alien experience, conspiracy theory, 951-364-2430. I'm cool with vamping until we get callers. I'm just not used to this.
No, yeah.
The real question is, Suris, have you ever dealt with a psychic?
Have I ever dealt with a psychic? Only like in high school, and that was before I knew things like cold reading. So I just kind of had to roll with things. Later on, I've gotten other things. Also, there's a thing in the chat. How does physicalism account for the first person's mental perspective that are only accessible to me? Well, it's naturally an epistemology. So my epistemology does not account for your experience. Epistemology being my personal theory of truth, it can only account for me definitionally. Like that's technically solipsism would mean that you don't even exist. But
that was Dean Meadows' comment, I believe. Hey, Dean, call us, Dean. We want to talk to you.
You know who I learned about epistemology from? A Christian presuppositionalist.
I mean, yeah, if they've been studying philosophy, then they could probably give you a pretty good primer on it regardless, even if presups are bullshit.
Yeah, what I mean by that is I kind of learned it on the fly because I was in my first debate with a presup, and I'm like, I've seen Eric Murphy and V do this. I got it. It's easy. And he's just like, right when he hit me with, how do you know? And I'm just like, what do you mean, how do I know? I know. Like, I had no idea how to answer that question. And it was from there, people like Puck and Kenneth started teaching me more about epistemology, and V as well. I did an episode on that actually with them. Yeah,
the fun thing with how do you know is you first got to be able to define truth, which is a rabbit hole.
Oh.
So, I don't. Some people will go into the how do you know what you know, why you know. I'm trying to remember who said that, and I don't even know how to go down that rabbit hole.
I can think of somebody who probably said that.
So, for those who don't know, we have Atheist Movie Night coming up in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, we're doing Zeitgeist. Is that how you say it? Zeitgeist? Zeitgeist. We're doing Zeitgeist with Kenneth, Leonard, and BrainBug.
Which version of Zeitgeist are you watching? There's 3.
Oh, we had considered that.
Actually, there's modifications of the first film as well. Depending on if you're watching the version of the first film that has the clips from Loose Change, you're in for a trip.
So I take it you've watched this several times then.
I used to be an Alex Jones enthusiast, so yes.
Wait.
Yeah, you all have a lot in common.
Yeah, well, years ago, I used to watch a lot of Alex Jones's podcasts. This was a decade ago. It was more of a YouTube show type podcast thing. And I was introduced to him through Zeitgeist because the Loose Change clips in Zeitgeist have clips of Alex Jones. And so when I started like Googling Zeitgeist, because I found out that there was a second one. The second Zeitgeist movie goes into how money is made, for instance. So I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of Alex Jones. And I remember like as a high schooler, me and my friends having arguments over, okay, who's really on our side? Is it Alex Jones or is it Glenn Beck? Who's the paid plant? And it was a different time. It was a very different time for me.
It's fascinating, but it's also so bizarre because I can't picture somebody like you eating that up. Like I was definitely very, very right wing. Like I probably, had I not become an atheist and following that a better skeptic, I would probably be, one of those people. Well, I don't think I'd be an anti-masker. I don't think I'd be that much of a dick, but I probably would think the election was stolen and think Donald Trump was still the rightful president. But Alex Jones, that's a whole other rabbit hole.
He's an interesting individual, and by interesting I mean kind of awkward. The thing that Alex Jones taught me more than anything, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, all of the InfoWars crowd, is that conspiracy theorists generally are more moved by a compelling question than by an accurate answer. How many, as an example, how many times have you heard, it makes you think, doesn't it? Whenever you're given something from a conspiracy theory, or
let that sink in.
Yeah, let that sink in, or what's another leading one? Because the trick is to make you do your own research, and then you'll end up potentially cascading down the rabbit hole that they fell down. So, for instance, when let's take 9/11 as an example, we can run through a fun scenario here. I say to you, well, jet fuel only burns at a certain amount. It only can burn so hot. And jet fuel only flashed. Like it was not as hot as it could have possibly been for as long as it could have gone when the planes hit the towers on 9/11. So, but the fact that the towers fell, and they shouldn't have, means that we have something else. Something has to be there. Something besides that has to be there. It really makes you think about the narrative we've been given. Now, ignore the fact that you don't have to melt a steel beam to make it to where it's structurally unsound and can collapse and pancake. And ignore the fact that some conspiracy theorists go further down that hole and say it must have been planted thermite bombs.
Heard that.
Anybody who works in metalworking knows that you don't even melt the metal to liquid.
You melt it, you heat it up to bend it,
right,
and then it folds. And that's all you need to do. And that's but if I just gave that statement, let's say that I'm speaking to a room of 200 people, and I just gave that statement, and I didn't give anything else, statistically, at least a few people of that are going to come out of it going, no, he had a point. I didn't have a point. But the fact that people are ignorant means that they don't know that I don't have a point.
I think that you bring up an interesting point, because one of the things I find that is being said now, most particularly with people on the far right, is if it's not, why are people suppressing the truth? If it's not true, just leave it out there. And I've even had some people close to me use that to kind of reaffirm the QAnon position. If why are they trying to hide it if it isn't true? There's clearly some truth to it.
And it comes down to the truth exists irregardless of scrutiny. Truth exists in a category we call ontological. It exists regardless of one of our perspectives on it. However, there is more to be gained by an alt-writer by giving a compelling question or a convincing lie than there is for us to gain by allowing them the platform to speak it.
So we do have some callers now. There's a couple in the screening room, but there is one I'm going to take that hasn't been screened yet, only because I can vouch for this person personally.
Okay.
It's Dean Meadows.
Okay.
Dean, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Dean.
We safe with the weather out there. It's kind of crazy. So
yeah, it was snowing out here. It was fun.
Oh yeah, it's been freezing here. It's about 8 degrees
I
out
was
right now.
driving from Virginia to North Carolina today. From Virginia to North Carolina today, it was just straight carnage. So,
yeah.
I will go ahead and ask a question. It's actually, I see Puck saying I need to calm down, which is always a funny phrase there. Good one, Puck. This is actually a philosophy of mind question, and I worded it wrong in the chat, so I wanted to call and just kind of clarify. Not that I have a position on this at all or any type of philosophical argument to support it. It's more of a question of inquiry for you guys. So what I meant to write in the chat was, how does physicalism account for my first person perspective experiences. So when I say, or when I think to myself, I am sad, or I am in pain, or I am hungry, right? Those are only things that are accessible by me. You couldn't access those from like a third person.
Oh, you can though.
So
There's
actually, so chemically,
yeah,
everything you just explained, we actually have the ability to measure,
and
so we
to
can access
manipulate.
those in third person.
But I kind of get what you're saying, that we can't control those without using, like, I can't control how you feel without interacting with you physically. Is that what you mean? Do a physical medium?
Well, once again, like you said, it's a question of inquiry. I really don't know, Brian. I guess my question would be, how does physicalism account for
self?
I guess yeah, I really don't know how else to ask it other than like, how does it account for the ability to self-reflect, I guess you could say.
So are you...
So like what the Christian philosopher of mind will say is something like this. They'll say something like,
are you talking about qualia?
Huh?
Are you talking about qualia? Qualia?
Once again, I don't know. You'd have to tell me what that is.
So qualia are any of the they're any of the subjective properties of experiences. So like personal experiences that are subjective only to oneself, like me feeling hungry, stuff like that, before we were able to measure stuff like that, that would be considered qualia. That sounds like what you're trying to describe.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, sure. I guess that would be a question there, because obviously the Christian's going to say or the theist maybe is going to say this is something that happens because of a dualistic nature of the person. I'm not necessarily sold on that, but I would be interested to know how physicalism would account for it.
So it depends on which qualia, which subjective experience we're trying to figure out. If we're talking about sadness, how does physicalism account for that? Well, we can quantify sadness. We actually know the chemical compositions that either lack of it or a massive amount of it will cause it, like having an absence of dopamine or having a deadened dopamine receptor would be a thing. But that's just science. That's almost scientism, trying to boil everything down to that. I'm not a believer in scientism. Like I said, that I'm a methodological physicalist personally, not a philosophical one. So as far as physicalism goes, it would boil every one of those things, every bit of qualia would boil them down to mere personal experience. It would just accept personal experiences as they are. So, for instance, you experience, if me and you were looking at we're looking at a tree. You and I are probably seeing different shades of green on that tree. We each have a different qualia. We have a different qualitative experience between ourselves. Physicalism would argue that, well, while we have a different physical experience of seeing that, what we're seeing are perspectives on ontology. So, for instance, green technically as a color doesn't exist. There's a wavelength that's being bounced off of that tree, and we're interpreting it as color. The fact that me and you are interpreting as a different color is besides the point, because that is, again, it's qualia, it's subjective, as opposed to ontology, which is merely that the color doesn't really exist.
Right.
The wavelength does,
so
and that's how physicalism would run.
Any type of ontological status outside of just being a wavelength.
Yeah, like in the category of ontology, it's a wavelength, but from an epistemological standpoint, we're trying to comport around color. We're trying to figure out why am I seeing green as a color specifically. So the qualia is the green, whereas the ontology that is outside of that subjective experience, that's the actual wavelength being bounced off of the tree. Physicalism would basically boil that down to its sum parts. There's a tree. There's an assembly of atoms that makes up what we perceive to be a tree. Even that perception is qualia. And it would just account for it by breaking it down there. I mean, that is a little mundane, but...
Well, and emotions, the sadness, happiness, these things are not unique to the human mind, and we can see the development at different levels of that in the animal kingdom, and the evolutionary advantages of being able to express to the other members of your species how you are feeling, especially in a social species. A good example, that's dogs, of course. They'll respond to sadness and happiness and all these emotions that essentially, I guess, that's described by the definition that you just gave there. So are we inferring that that there's metaphysics within the dog having these emotional responses as well? Dean?
Am I assuming that?
You were inferring that.
Say that again. Am I inferring what?
So I guess that within the dog's mind, that it has a special dualistic spirit as well. Is that when it has an emotional response?
Well, Dean's not put anything forward for that. He's just asked the question about how does physical... Yeah, he's just asked the question about how does physicalism account for X, Y, or Z.
I don't know. I think among theists... hold up one second. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Sorry, my daughter wants me to come sit with her. But I think within the theist framework, there are certain theists that would say, no, dogs don't have that dualist. Dualist, what am I looking for? What's the word? Makeup or so. And then there's some theists that would say they do, but it's limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, right. I mean, I'm on the fence about it. I've got no clue.
You're okay.
I would just say,
place to be.
I guess my point would be like on physicalism, is it just a matter of, we are our brain function, right? I guess
for physicalism, yes, that's exactly what I would argue.
That would be my position. I think, sir, I believe you're a dualist too, aren't you?
Philosophically, no. Philosophically, I don't have a position. Like I said, methodologically naturalist. Philosophically, I'm agnostic on the composition of the cosmos, as it were.
Okay, yeah, just kind of gauging, because I think you had mentioned something about dualism earlier. That's what got Dean engaged there. So
yeah, I was saying that I'm saying that within my epistemology, because I'm agnostic on that philosophically, dualism is possible in my mind. It's entirely possible. Though, as a matter of function, methodologically, I'm a physicalist.
And Ethan asked from the backstage there what a dualist is. It's essentially that you, as you identify as self, is separate from your physical self.
Yeah. If you want to look it up, what you'll find is it's usually called substance dualism. Everything is I've actually got the SCP article for it pulled up just to make sure that I don't put my foot in my mouth. But yeah, it's basically called the dualism in the philosophy of mind. Your self is not an emergent property of the mind in dualism as much as it is a separate entity to the mind in dualism.
And I am not a dualist, but
yeah, and under oh, sorry, Brian.
Yeah, metaphysical naturalist, but I believe Dean is a dualist, right? Do we lose Dean?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. So, and a lot of this comes down to the concept of the soul and stuff, and that's where a lot of the dualist stems from, is that the soul is separate from the body.
Like if you were to remove the soul from the body under dualism, you would have functionally what's called a P-zombie. That's what would be left. I'm assuming everybody here knows what a... I was saying under dualism, if you were to remove the soul from the body, you would either have an inanimate corpse or you would have a P-zombie. I'm hoping that everybody here knows what a P-zombie is.
What's a pea zombie?
It's a pea zombie is a philosophical zombie. It is an entity that to outsiders is perceptibly human, is perceptibly sapient, but functionally it can only respond to stimuli, and it has no self.
Okay. Huh.
Right.
I was not familiar with that concept, so thank you.
It goes mind. It's if you talk about dualism long enough, you'll end up on pea zombies eventually.
Yeah. Well, every time I talk to Dean, he makes me think. So appreciate you calling in here, Dean.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and thanks for some more insight into that. I'm reading a philosophy of mind book right now. I'm trying to expand past the Kalam, Ethan.
Who's the author of the book you're reading? I want to look it up.
It's in my book bag right now. It's the Routledge 4th edition philosophy of mind. Starts with an H.
Let's see. Philosophy of. I'm seeing if I've gotten a credit and I can add this in. It's not the one by Patrick Gim, right? No.
No, it's not.
How far into it are you, Dean?
I actually just started it probably like a week ago. Here it is, Philosophy of Mind, a contemporary introduction by John Heil. It's the Routledge Contemporary Introductions to Philosophy. It is the 4th edition.
You said it's by John Heil?
Yeah, Heil. I guess that's how you say it. Heil. I don't know.
I'm hoping that... Dang it. Okay. Well, I'll have to find that in physical form then. I was seeing if Audible had a copy of it. I do most of my reading via audiobook. So I was hoping that there would be a copy of it in there that I could listen to when I'm walking Growlithe, but apparently there is not, which makes me kind of upset because that's the easiest way I can read books.
There you go. So
that's okay.
Thank you guys. Appreciate the show. Appreciate you guys. And it's always a joy to talk to you guys.
It's always fun, Dean.
It was good meeting you, Dean.
Take care.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Let me go to Notepad.
Okay, I forgot to ask you, BrainBug, do you have call-in studio up?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, cool. So I don't need to. You can do the button pressing?
Nope, I got it.
Oh, okay, sweet. Then I'm just going to stay back there. Yeah, I had no idea what dualism was, and there was the if PQ thing. I didn't know what that was either. I'm like, for those watching, I consider a baby atheist, and it's weird some of the assumptions that go along with being an atheist YouTuber. Like you'll find people are like calling atheists dumb, but then some of these same people expect you to know philosophy, science, physics, religion. Like you are expected to know so much. When other channels ask like to interview me, my first question is, what's it about? Not your normal atheist, because usually be like, hey, yeah, we'll just talk philosophy, or we go over the Bible. And I'm just like, haven't really read the Bible that much. Not that good at philosophy.
I'm going to let Suris pick our next call. I got 3 options here for you. Okay. We got psychometry, which is reading the objects by touching them. We have a telepathic experience, or we have a ghost that goes after cats.
So the ghost would be Robert and Milla. I'll take the ghosts.
All right. We're going to talk ghost.
Ghost.
Are you with us, Roberta?
Yes. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Hi, sir.
How are you doing?
All right.
I definitely had bias in picking this one. Sorry.
Well, we're glad you called tonight.
Well,
what's your ghost experience?
I'm sorry, what?
We're glad you called tonight. What was your supernatural experience?
Well, I have always been able to feel the feelings of others. I guess you could call that being an empath, but beyond that, I've been able to see ghosts, and especially ghost animals, ghost cats. I seem to want to hang around with me a lot. I can feel them walk on me at times, and they do regular cat things, but sometimes it's like Get off me, all you can.
Oh, so animals have ghosts?
I didn't know that they did until recently. Well, I think it's because of where I am now. I've been a guest of the Osborne Care Center.
Okay.
And there are a lot of elderly people here, so I imagine there are a lot of pets missing their owners.
Okay.
At least those that have passed on.
Is this how long have you been having these experiences?
The empathic part, I think all my life, but seeing the ghosts has been kind of recent, kind of the last few years.
And you're physically, you're seeing them.
I'm sorry, what?
You are actually physically seeing them, because you said seeing the ghost. I just want to make sure that you're seeing them with your eyes. Okay.
Yeah, it's not quite like, in the what's the one where I see dead people? It's not quite like that.
It's not like in Golden Fleece, or I think it's Golden Fleece.
No,
it's
no.
Sixth Sense. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So not like in Sixth Sense.
Huh?
So it's not like in Sixth Sense, where there's like a physical person there.
No, I don't get a really clear image of them walking around. I get more of like a outline, like an impression. The cats, though, I can definitely feel them walk on me and lay on me.
Okay,
it's weird.
So it's a sensation that you feel, and you like look down and you see a cat there, or is it are you just feeling?
Sometimes. Most of the time, it's just I just feel the paws.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had a cat walk on you, you definitely.
It's usually rather sharp, at least with mine.
Right. Exactly.
But so is it? So you're feeling this, and I'm not going to say that you're not feeling something. Is it that you're feeling something, and the only explanation you have is that it's ghost cats, or you're feeling something and you know for certain that it must be this?
Oh, I had one snag on my nightgown the other night.
Do you have? Just asking. Do you have? Have cats, like real cats, like live cats?
I used to have cats. My cat died a couple of months before I came here to get some things taken care of.
Okay.
Fair. So I'd say that it's not something that we can personally verify easily. Like obviously it would be practically impossible to.
I can't prove it. I can't prove it to you. I don't know if you'd even be able to see the same things I do if a cat walked over on me if you were in the same room with me.
So actually there's a question then. So when let's say you're wearing a nightgown, right? And if a cat were to walk on you, and or a ghost cat specifically, not a regular cat, would there be indents in the nightgown, or do you just like feel it like on your flesh and there's no indication on your person?
Well, I've seen the indents.
So it is affecting the physical world.
But has this ever happened when someone else is in the room then?
Yeah, but I don't know if they would notice. People don't notice something.
So, and that's true. I can't perceive things for heck. It's why I'm terrible at League of Legends personally. But it does end up begging the question though, if you were in a room and a ghost cat were walking on you, this would be the quickest verification. If a ghost cat were walking on you and someone were in the room with you, would they be able to see the indents as they happened? So I guess the homework then. I guess the homework then would be seeing if at a not at a point that this is happening, because obviously you couldn't manifest it happening. That's not a thing you'd be able to do. But if it does happen, see when I do that, Hylia generally is just like, I'm sleeping, Dad. I don't want to come. Yumi is usually pretty receptive to that. But what I would say that the best homework for this is that if it happens when somebody else is in the room, see if they can see the indents of them walking. If you're wearing something that's loose, so that they would potentially brush it. 'Cause like obviously, if you're wearing tight clothing that day, there's no way to tell. But if you're wearing something loose, you'd be able to see movement or something.
If you could put some like powder on the floor or something, so your little kitty footprints in it, that'd be.
Oh, somebody's been playing Phasmophobia. We use salt for that, Brian.
Salt repels ghosts.
Well, sure. The joke is though in Phasmophobia, or not really a joke, but the reference is that one of the ways you can find ghosts in Phasmophobia is you can put salt on the ground, and if you get their footprints in the salt, then you take a picture of that and you go, okay, now I know that I'm dealing with one that affects this particular thing. We're basically asking you to play Phasmophobia in real life, just not with salt.
I gotta wonder. See, when it comes to ghosts of animals, especially, there's animals that have lifespans that are just weeks, months, especially insects.
Right.
What kind of ghost are we talking about with that? If ghost animals are such a thing, would I be surrounded by ghost spiders here? I'm sorry.
I think it depends on if the animal or insect wants to stay around.
Typically, the thing with ghosts in lore, in most lore, is that there's some reason that they're trapped here. There's something keeping them here, some unfinished business, something. If I were to grant the premise, basically.
You're talking about the folklore, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the folklore around ghosts is usually that not everybody that dies leaves behind a ghost. Usually there's some unfinished business there, and that's why they do. And that at least lines up with Roberta's hypothesis, which is, maybe a lot of the people there at the facility are missing their pets. They're yearning for them, which would mean that any pet that wants to satisfy its owner would have unfinished business, definitionally. My thing, though, is that there actually is, if this isn't an animal ghost that does function in reality, in a real plane, not just spectrally and you see it, then there actually is some stuff you can do. And I mean, it is technically taking pages out of the books of Phasmophobia, but that is functionally what you would do. See if there is any way via powder or anything else to verify this is happening and have independent verification, because otherwise, and it's not the same thing as like what happened with the last caller, but otherwise you have a claim and it doesn't get you further than you have a claim.
We need to be able to falsify any claim. You want to be able to find a way to falsify it. If you have an unfalsifiable claim, it doesn't help you get any closer to the truth.
Yeah.
But
exactly. I understand the scientific method.
Oh yeah,
Suris knows that.
Yeah. Honestly, if I probably wouldn't have as many conversations, at least within the chat with you, if you hadn't had Ryoko as your avatar. But that sticks out to me because I'm a Tenchi Muyo fan. I'm sorry.
Are you saying that you would ignore me otherwise?
No, I'm just saying that it sticks out to me like a sore thumb, so I automatically go, that's a person of culture.
So before we let you go, I just wanted to ask, are there any other ghost animals that you've experienced besides cats?
I've seen a few dogs. I've had a couple of chases run over me. That's not fun.
I imagine not.
Was that?
But my own cat hasn't come to see me, so I assume that he's gone on to his next life already.
No. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling us tonight. Appreciate your ghost cat experience. It's interesting, and if you do a test on that, if you put powder down or have some other come up with some other method of determining the validity of this, definitely give us a call back. We'd love to see it. Take pictures, whatever you can.
I'll
we can't do the
try
truth.
it out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much for calling
Thank
in.
you.
All right. You take care. All right. Our next caller, we have. I'm going to do the psychometry. And this is Brian. So I'll go by BrainBug for this call, not to avoid confusion. Okay. Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey
what
there.
Group, and I'm
Hey there.
glad to be on. And Brian Bug. Oh no, it's Brian.
Yeah,
it's
I'm Brian.
Payne.
It's the artist
BrainBug.
formerly
I'll
known as
get there,
BrainBug.
and your friendly neighborhood Atheist and Suris. Right? Did I get you all?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wonderful. Anyway, 2 quick episodes when I used to be doing magic shows, and I wound up getting this one lady to hold some jewelry in her hand that she had in her purse, and then I told her to concentrate on it, etc., etc. What I would do is I pretend I was in the theater, and you remember the old-time movies? They would start off with that number and count down 3, 2, 1, and then the show would start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, what I would do is I would visualize that I was sitting in a movie theater and the film was ready to start and the numbers would count down, and whatever the movie showed, that's what I would say to the person. And so I saw a seagull flying around an iceberg. And then I opened my eyes and I said, by the way, does that mean anything to you? And she almost dropped her coffee and I thought she was going to faint. She had a seagull on a chain that was given to her at her confirmation in Catholic Church, and Father Berg was the one that blessed it.
Okay.
So how I knew that, I don't know, but that's what I saw. I saw a seagull going around an iceberg, and she made the connection that, well, she had a seagull ornament on a chain in her hand. That's what she picked out of her purse. I didn't see it because I wasn't, and there were other people around the table with me when I was doing that. So that's number one. Number two, quickly, is when I did a headline prediction, the newspaper wanted to take a photograph of me. So I was down in the photo studio, and they said, okay, well, can you do something or tell something about one of us here and give us something about it? I said, no, I have to have an object or something to hold. And the guy said, well, here, have the photographer give you his wristwatch. Okay, fine. So I hold the wristwatch. I go through the same procedure, sitting in a movie theater, count down, 3, 2, 1. What do you get? I get somebody behind a broadcasting facility pointing a finger and going, you're on the air, and he's pointing. And the guy almost dropped his camera. I said, what's wrong? He said, did you have any idea that he's leaving next week? This is his last day here, and he's going to be working at a video studio as a floor manager, and he's going to be the production person on the floor, you know, giving the instructions of when you're on the air. No, I had no idea of that. And I don't know how I picked that stuff up. After that, I got a little bit skittish, and I didn't bother doing it anymore because I started feeling myself being pulled up on stage to go into the movie. And I was afraid if I did that, I may not come back. So I just left it go at that and didn't bother to mess with it anymore. But those are the two things that stuck out. How could I have possibly known that information?
So when you
I don't
get
know.
this information, when you are you a image in your mind that you're seeing? Is that kind of how you close your eyes and
Yeah, right. It's an image in my mind, no words.
Okay. And
it's just like when you would close your eyes and remember when you were on a trip or something, you know. That's it. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
So my first thought is
Are you psychic?
Am I psychic? No, but I do have a cat. Does that count?
No, but my goldfish here lives with me, and I don't have to put him in a water tank. He just eats right outside of my bedside here. So.
Fair enough.
Anyway, gentlemen, I don't want to hold you up. I know you got other phone calls, but does this sound like anything you've ever heard before elsewhere? I mean, like I said,
it actually
I'm out
sounds
of the business, but
so it actually sounds
very freaky.
It sounds very much like the first caller, actually, a little bit, because the method that the method that the first caller had was give me a loved one, and then they performed what was called a cold read, where they said, I feel this, or I see this. Is this accurate to any of your experiences? And that's what happens with a cold read. Is
right.
And so
I wasn't doing any prompting at all.
But you did actually in your story. In your story, you did
expounding on what I saw, and then I dropped it at that point where I wasn't probing like the cold reading would do, which I'm familiar with that too, being a magician. So
yeah,
I wasn't doing that process. That's what threw me for a curve. So anyway, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you.
Get a vision tonight. I'll be glad to hear from you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you for the show.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay.
That was odd.
That was weird. Not to be mean to the caller, because that's not what I'm meaning when I say weird.
Right.
It was weird. I understand he's on business, so like obviously his ability to expound further in conversation may be limited, but we didn't get a chance to ask any questions aside from me starting this sounds like the method used by the first one, just modified a little differently to have a different perspective. Now I actually have an entire article on psychometry up here that uses information dating all the way back to 1840 that I was wanting to use, but it's gone.
Well,
it's all
I would.
So the audience sake, because like me as well, I don't know what psychometry is.
So and Brian, you go first before I delve into this.
Yeah,
You've been trying to say something.
I was just going to say that if he was able to demonstrate that without doing the cold reading, I'm getting this, I'm getting that steps, that would be compelling.
Yeah, but while he said I didn't do cold reading, and I know what that is because I'm a magician. Well, it is not on to me to take the argument from perspective, the argument of authority there. I have to go, well, no, you described the beginning steps of a cold read. Right. I'm feeling a seagull around an iceberg. And then somebody went, oh, well, I happen to have a seagull pendant. I could say, if I were to do a cold read right now, it would be something along the lines of, I'm feeling a piece of jewelry. And then somebody would go, I have one. Okay, well, I'm feeling some personal significance. And statistically, people have wedding rings. So I'm not saying anything profound with that statement, but to an individual, it can feel that way.
I recommend Thomas Westbrook for this topic if you wanted to delve into it too.
He deals with a lot of psychics. Holy Kool-Aid does.
Yes.
So real quick, it looks like the call screener told Brian to call back, and it looks like he called back.
Cool.
Brian, were you calling back to let them ask you some questions?
Oh, no, but if you want to, I'd be more than happy to do that. I was just calling back to find out if what I said made any sense at all. It's sort of like, I mean, I wasn't trying to stump anybody. I'm just trying to figure out the information too. No, you have any questions?
Yeah, they did. But do your best not to, because there's a delay, do your best not to talk over them. Give a break each time they speak.
Yeah,
That way
I
the
know,
audience
I
can hear
know.
clearly.
It gets to be a little bit disconcerting. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we have a few questions about the steps. So you said you were familiar with cold reading. Can you just real quick give us a rundown of what cold reading is in the magician industry?
Guessing. It's just guessing and hope you're right. And then if you get a nod and a wink, so to speak, from the person, then you're off and running.
Yeah, you kind of walk down the branch.
Personally, but I wasn't using it when I was doing the psychometry anyway.
So, but what you described though, when you said I grabbed an object, I tried it, I felt a pull towards a seagull and an iceberg, and then you relayed that information and then got a confirmation from them. Those are definitionally the steps of a cold read.
The starting steps, at least, yeah.
Oh, but I didn't get the confirmation until I finished. Until I said it to them before they confirmed it, and that.
Well, yeah,
the end of the conversation was not a further embellishment or a further probing of the item. It was either right or wrong. It wasn't.
But it didn't
it was a
have
binary
to be.
result.
Well, it's not a binary result because you gave
with the photographer. I would just say what I saw, and I wasn't pulled into the screen. I was just watching the screen, and whatever I saw on the screen, that's what I said. And when the movie stopped, it only lasted maybe about 5-10 seconds. When the movie stopped, that's when I talked to the person, whether it was something that made sense or it didn't. And like you said, they can make all kinds of ideas in their head if I keep probing. Well, was it white, or was it something that he did this or did that? So I can understand where that would be obviously a way of an out. But the results was that in order to prevent that from happening, I was just giving my side of the reading first and quitting, so that there was no chance of having any fudge factor.
Okay, and of course we have a sample size of 2 here, but there's this idea of counting the and the fact that you said this happened 2 times, unless there's more times that you haven't presented, and these are just the most compelling that you have, which is fine if that's the situation. But it's kind of we're really counting the hits and discounting the misses, unless there's more to it.
That's quite true. Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Because I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. So those are the 2 that stand out that were so miraculously accurate. So that's the reason I brought those 2 up, because of the fact that they really stuck in my mind as being unknowable.
So wait, they were uniquely accurate compared to the other hundreds of times, correct?
Right. Yes. The other times that didn't make it. So 2 out of 10,000.
Yeah.
So now we have almost a sharpshooter fallacy kind of deal where we've got like I can say that I am, as an example, I can say that I am the best shooter in the entire world, and I can do it blindly. And what I do is I take a gun and I aim it kind of somewhere where a target is, and I fire 7 times. Now, if I only have 2 hits, and those hits just happen to be in the bullseye, I can go, look, all my hits were bullseyes. I am the best shooter in the world. I can do this blindly. But I've not counted the 5 misses. Whether or not the misses hit the target, I still have to count the 5 misses. Right. So when you've got to count the hundreds of misses to your 2 incredibly accurate shots, that doesn't mean that there was something to the 2 incredibly accurate shots. You have several attempts at this, and 2 stand out as uniquely accurate. And the definition of this is the sharpshooter fallacy.
the details on the information would be from where?
They can be, so your brain can manifest anything out of the ether. It is one of the reasons that creatives, it's one of the reasons why creatives are able to give us the great and stupendous worlds that we find ourselves in any great fiction or any great story. The fact that your brain manifested out of 300 times, let's say 300 times, because you said hundreds of hundreds, we'll just go with 300. If out of 300 times you have variable results, some kind of yeah, some kind of nah, but then 2 are uniquely accurate, statistically, you would eventually hit something. No matter how unlikely, statistically, you would eventually hit those. And it's not me trying to discount those experiences, but it is a matter of odds. Like I said, if I aim a gun randomly down a range and I fire multiple times, statistically, I'm going to hit something eventually if I keep on firing hundreds of times. The miraculous thing would be if I had missed every shot while aiming down range.
Yeah. So I mean,
true. And then we don't know how much the other person was adding in or projecting onto what I was saying about that seagull and the iceberg. That may have been totally. They may have totally made it up. I can't prove that they were right either. Too.
Yeah, because you've got a third person in this scenario. You've got the first person, you, the second person, the potential psychometric power, and the third person is the person you're trying to demonstrate this power to. And if at any of these lines something fails or something is inaccurate, then that automatically creates issues with the data. Either the reading itself doesn't work, or the person gives inaccurate information, or you, for some reason, have an inaccurate reading. At any of these points, we now have a fustercluck of data, and it creates
there's
issues.
Also another item too, Suris, is that they don't want me to fail, and they could be like a hypnotist. Oh no, I'm not hypnotized. Yes, but you're doing what the hypnotist says. Just to make him not look bad. Do you see what I'm saying?
Or alternatively, there was a thing that happened with me when I was in high school, where I had a friend who said that she could read auras. She could read people's auras when they were sitting next to them. So I would ask them to read my aura, and they would say, "Oh, it's a blue calming aura," and I'd go, "Oh yeah, I'm a very calm person." Now ignore the fact that the previous day I'd probably broken a keyboard playing World of Warcraft, being everything except a calm person, but it was a vague reinforcement to me. So I wanted to go along with it, not even realizing that what I was doing was basically going along with it.
Right. Could be some of that. That's a possibility. The photographer is more dumbfounding, but that I would tend to agree with that. All right. Well, I'm glad for the feedback. Any other questions?
Well, no, I think you kind of clarified it, and it seems like you're more skeptical about the whole thing than what was originally kind of inferred. But and that might have been a mistake on my part. But yeah, this is the kind of thing. This is why we use control groups to.
Oh, no question. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks for calling back.
Gentlemen.
Clarifying.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
What's that?
I said it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, and he's gone.
Oh.
All right.
Well, darn.
All right. So looks like we got another caller here, the telepathic experience, and this is Allison from Canada. Allison, you are on with Brian and Suris. How's it going?
Hi, it's going awesome. I'm so happy to talk to both of you. Oh my God. I'm like kind of fangirling.
Fair enough.
About this guy, yeah. Me too.
Aw, you too, Brian. Suris, what's your kitty's name?
This is Yumi.
Hi, Yumi.
I will get her right here. There we go. Hi, Yumi.
Oh, she's so adorable. Boop. Okay, so I am calling because I have an experience that happened to me when I was a teenager, actually, about 13 or 14 years old. I was going, hold on, I typed it out, so I'm just going to read it because I'm nervous right now.
That's understandable. Organize your thoughts in whatever way you need to.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, around 13, 14, I went to the swimming pool with my classmates in junior high. I was with a couple of friends in the pool, chilling on an inner tube, and then the waves started. So one of my friends thought it was funny to grab the tube and flip me over. And I got stuck in the tube with my head fully submerged underwater. And I was struggling to get out, and I really, really started to freak out, and I was thinking that I was going to drown. So I managed to get out, and me and my other friend, we ran to the public phone, and we were totally scared, freaking out, and I called my mom. And I told my mom, she asked me, she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, I just almost drowned." And she said that my phone call had woken her up, and she dreamt that I had drowned at the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was like, yeah. So it was like kind of like we were so close to the point where it was like we shared those kinds of experiences. So what do you think?
So,
I've got thoughts, but I'll let Brian go first.
Well, it's a very interesting coincidence. But I have this. I was just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. I have this book of Mysteries Unexplained. There's a whole chapter in here about coincidences, and it comes down to being.
Ethan has a cat too.
As Kenneth says often, that low probability events that kind of happen all the time. So the fact that she would have had that dream the same day that you drowned or you almost drowned, that's interesting, but it's nothing that we can repeat and test.
Well, there's another aspect to it too.
Go ahead.
Did your mom know that you were going to the pool, or did she know that you had ever gone to that pool before?
Yeah, she knew I was going with the school for sure.
Okay. So my thoughts would be that this sounds a lot like a mother whose natural anxieties manifested in her dream. That's a thing that we actually do understand a little bit about dreams, is that sometimes the things that we're anxious about happen in the dreams. If you're anxious about paying bills, sometimes you have late bills in your dreams, or you have things that your mind connects as analogous to having financial concerns. So it makes sense that your mom would have a nightmare of her child drowning when she knows that her child is going to an event where there's going to be a pool. The same thing actually happens to Raz, where any of the animals are concerned. Whenever we are gone from the house for any length of time, she has nightmares about bad things happening to the cats. Even one time she had a nightmare that one of the cats had gotten out, and it was that day that a cat did in fact get out. Gigi learned how to open up the screen on one of our windows. So she managed to pry open the screen and pop out, and she came back a few hours later, but it was still terrifying. This is a thing that we see happen all the time, is people have their anxieties manifest when they're dreaming.
Yeah, that does make sense. Like, she was always very concerned for my safety because I love to take risks. Like, I was a huge adrenaline junkie, so I was the type of kid who would jump off of the top diving board without knowing how to swim to the to the ledge kind of thing.
So this is just a kind of a curiosity I have about this. Did your mom know anybody or have anybody in her life that had drowned?
No, I don't think so. But I do think that, like, I wish I could ask her all of this stuff, but she passed away when I was 16.
Oh,
and I'm
sorry.
40 now.
About that.
So unfortunately, I can't ask her. Thanks. But
I asked because when I was
he had a fear of drowning.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, my best friend drowned when we were swimming together, and ever since then, whenever it gets to the swimming season, I always tend to have nightmares about my kids drowning, like when we go to the beach or go to the pool or things like that. So, and it's all triggered by that experience. So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah. Oh, BrainBug, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's been a long time ago, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
But the fact that you were maybe a little bit rebellious and rambunctious might have gave her cause to have dreams about you getting all kinds of crazy shenanigans, maybe, huh?
As mothers tend to do, or as good mothers tend to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know if there's a possibility that, like, how connected we can be with each other, in terms of knowing what's happening to the other person as it's happening.
Well, there's always a possibility. That's the thing with reality is we don't know everything about reality. We don't. We're.
I have a twin. So all my life, I've had people come at me and be like, do you all have similar dreams? Do you feel each other's pain and stuff? I don't have any of those experiences myself. I wish I did. It'd be some confirmation to something more out there. But I will say, just from the study of social insects and what have you, is that there's definitely a way in which social species tend to communicate and interact with one another of their own group. That's more than just what we're picking up on with our senses that we are aware of. There's chemoreceptors and just different tenors to the voices of your tribe that you are recognizing in your ear that you don't even know that you're picking up on, just the vibration of the people that are in your group's voices and things like that we don't even think about.
And for chemoreceptors, you're talking about when like stuff like pheromones are involved, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which makes it like how when there's that makes sense, because that's actually one of the ways in which ants are able to colonize as well as they are, is use of pheromones. For if memory serves. If I'm wrong about that, please, people in the chat, correct me. But while there is a lot of stuff that we do not understand, I think the best thing to do is to not assume until we've had a chance to actually verify things. Because what tends to happen, this is a thing that happened with me back when I was a kid. I had a tendency to take things that happened next to each other and assume that they were linked. The fallacy here is post hoc ergo proctor hoc. This thing happened beforehand, therefore it happened because of this thing that happened beforehand.
Correlation, yeah.
So I had like a tingle that would run down my back, which now I understand is just the fact that my vertebrae are screwed up, and that sucks. But back then I had no idea. I had no way of knowing. It probably has to do with the fact that I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z and I wore backpacks filled with rocks. Could be anything. But I would feel that, and I would feel like a bad thing was about to happen, like a storm was coming, or I'd hear about a family member dying. So I associated that with, oh, that's the feeling that something bad's going to happen. And that lasted with me for years until I realized that, well, hold on. What about the times where that's not happening? What about the times where I feel that and nothing happens? Maybe these things are not actually connected. I'm just reading my hits and ignoring my misses. And that's a thing that happens with a lot of people, especially like with what happened with your mom. How many times do you think she might have had a dream where you were hurt or drowned or something where it didn't happen? You were perfectly fine. Everything was perfectly normal. It just so happens that one of those times you almost drowned, and that was bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like she said that she had nightmares about like the boyfriend I had at the time. She had a nightmare that he hurt me, like physically, but he never hurt me physically, just mentally. So I can see the connections. Like dreams are just the processes of what you didn't do when you're awake, kind of thing. So
there's a little more to it than that. You're
well, yeah.
it's your brain being
That's
active when you're in it's your brain being active when you're in what's called REM sleep, when you're in rapid eye movement sleep. This actually a thing we've been able to measure is we'll put people to sleep and we will shine lights on their eyes, and it makes our brains perceive that light is coming, and that puts us into REM sleep. That's when a lot of our best rest starts to happen, is we're in REM sleep. That's also when our brain starts to manifest things like dreams a little more often. It gets a little more active here. So we know a decent bit about it. We don't know everything about it. But a lot of times our subconscious, our anxieties, our worries, the things we want, any number of things can manifest in there. If you are big into escapism, you might manifest yourself being in another world, or that might happen randomly. Brain's weird.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a number of disorders associated with those cycles that we understand quite a bit, that lead to some of these things that were, in previous generations inferred to be unexplained phenomenon, things like sleep paralysis and hypnopompic hallucinations and things like that. So there are some crazy things that go on inside of our minds, and I'm never going to downplay that. But I think that the fact that these are physically caused reactions in our brain give them more credence than to assume that they're something more unnatural, because it really means that your mom wasn't getting some signal from you, but she was just thinking about you because she loves you. I think that's beautiful.
What do you guys think about people that claim they have dreams and those dreams come true? Like like psychic dreams kind of a thing. What's your spin on that?
Well, I personally don't think much of them, because they tend to not everyone. There are some that legitimately believe that this happens and they're very well meaning. But there are a lot of cases where people say that they have these prophetic abilities of any variety, be it dreams or what have you, and it tends to get used for ill. One of them being psychometry, the thing that we were talking about in the previous call. Specifically, with that, there was an entire book made of 50 years of research by a Joseph Rhodes Buchanan. And he tried to articulate like all the different ways in which he'd help people using psychometry. And if we're talking about somebody like that who is using their dreams for other people in that way, I don't think much of them, because I think there's a lot of danger that comes with enabling that kind of thought process. And we're talking about just what do I think of people that merely believe? I think that they are wrong, or at the very least, they have an inaccurate explanation of what their dreams do and mean, because they're falling for the sharpshooter fallacy again. If they have 3 dreams a night during REM sleep, and they have multiple cycles of dreaming throughout the week, and only one of those dreams they assume is attached to something, they have to literally ignore every dream that happened that didn't have any connection to reality.
Yeah, counting the hits and dismissing the misses. Well,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I just got to say that, like, a lot of the times I'm glad that my dreams don't come true, because I've had some doozies, some real bad nightmares, and I've actually died in my dreams. So, and then I wake up and I'm like, holy, glad that was a dream, because otherwise I'd be dead.
Yeah, that'd be awkward to wake up from death.
Oh God, it's not fun. I'm really grateful that I haven't had that happen recently. It's been actually a few years, I think, since it's happened, and I'm really grateful for that. But it's like sometimes I'll wake up in a panic thinking that something or someone is near me trying to hurt me, or there's like a bomb that's gonna go off, or a grenade or whatever, and I have to, whatever it is, I just got to get away from it as soon as possible. And I've like fallen out of bed, I've clawed at the wall, I've like ran out of bed and turned the lights on and ran through the house, and then I fully wake up and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be like night terrors or sleep. Like, I don't know what to call that.
Well, I wouldn't want to start trying to diagnose a condition just from this short little interaction, and I don't think anybody here is qualified to. But there's a lot of different sleep related conditions that can crop up to cause all kinds of effects: night terror, sleep paralysis, all kinds of crazy stuff. We do appreciate you calling in with your account today, Allison. Was there anything you wanted to say before we go ahead and move on?
I just really enjoyed talking to both of you and getting your takes on it, and I apologize for rambling on, but I totally get that. Like, sleep is so mysterious, right? It's like it's just, I'm kind of here going, hey, what do you think about this? And like, I'm not expecting any kind of like, I don't know, answers, like diagnoses or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate both of your times.
All right. Well, we appreciate your call, Allison. And if you think of any other experiences, definitely feel free to give us a call back. Okay.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Suris?
It's been fun.
Dude, so if you were compared to Matt Dillahunty, I was expecting a little more like bam, 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 bam. You seem like very calm.
He's pretty chill.
Yeah, very
generally.
Well, no, the way you had worded it earlier, you had kind of said like you weren't sure if it was like an insult or anything. So I was like, oh, dude, is he gonna like be more assertive? But dude, you're really good at this.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's very
cool.
I enjoyed listening to you. So Brian, dude, you were not wrong to recommend him.
Yes, I know. The BrainBug, I know.
So I had a really stressful day today, and then all of this, like, the audio kept going to crap, and I'm like, dude, this is not getting better. So I did actually smoke a little bit to calm down. And so yeah, I'm pretty good now.
Fair enough. Well, whatever helps get you through the day, so long as it doesn't hurt you, that's fine.
Oh yeah, so I have a medical marijuana card. It's totally legal where I'm at.
I don't care if it's legal. That part doesn't bother me.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah.
Remember, in America, slavery was once legal. That doesn't suddenly mean that slavery was a good thing at any point.
Yes, that's true. So, Suris, where can everyone check you out at?
If anybody wants to check out any of my stuff, all you need to do is go to youtube.com/c/Suris the Skeptic. It used to be a shorter URL, but when my channel got stolen last year, I had to move it to another one because that was thanks random people preying on people. Yeah, it was an awkward month and a half. Wasn't fun.
How did that happen?
So I'll run through this briefly. If you want a really good dissertation on what happened, another channel got stolen called Channel Pup. And I actually walked him through the steps to get his channel back. So we have there's a collaboration with me and him on his channel. Just look up Channel Pup Suris and you'll find the collaboration where we talked about everything that happened. But in brief, I was given an email for a sponsorship opportunity. And I've done sponsorships before. I did one for Raid Shadow Legends. Still kind of regret that. Screw that game. But when
everybody did though. Everybody did.
When I got this sponsorship opportunity, it was when I was really hurting for funds. Like YouTube was paying out what maybe $500 a month, and that was what I was trying to pay a mortgage and all the bills off of, which, you know, that's a little stressful.
Yeah.
So any sponsorship opportunity that came along, I was like, oh my God, yes, amazing. And it was for something called EasyLib. And it was an online library that you could access from your browser. And I was like, that's perfect for my channel, because so often I'm having to cite stuff and get like, hey, look at the description, or I've got citation. Like the freaking debate I had on gender with EOT has 14 citations in the description, where I'm like, nope, look, we're talking about a bunch of stuff that's had a bunch of writing. Please do a bunch of reading before you comment. So like, this is a perfect thing, an online library with a channel that has to do citations. At least I did before I went to live stream format. This is perfect. Downloading that program so that I could test it out on my end, installed something on my computer called an RAT, or a remote administrative tracker. If memory, I think that's what it stands for, if memory serves. But I know it's an RAT program. And what it does is it fishes through your system and grabs all your passwords and everything, depending on what the creator of the program wants. And for me, it was my YouTube channel, because it was sent to a YouTuber. So what happened is they took the channel with the RAT while I was asleep. So I woke up to the channel being changed to Surisabi Gaming. So what likely happened is they stole the channel, started deleting all of my videos off of it, and tried to turn it into a top 10 gaming channel of some kind, or like a Fortnite channel. I used to do voice acting work for a top 10 list channel called Grapple, and there's companies that will buy, with no questions asked, channels that have subscriber bases already, so they don't have to go through the monetization process. They just buy the channel and start pumping content on it. That happened to mine, but I think we caught them before they were able to sell it to anybody. But it took a month and a half, because my channel got stolen right as the COVID crisis began. So YouTube had none of its workers in their call centers. So I couldn't call about it. I had to go through email, which is a long and arduous process. And strangely enough, I documented every interaction with YouTube, at least every one that I thought would be okay. And I documented it all on a secondary channel. And just a month ago, YouTube deleted that channel. So I no longer have any of that documentation on their website to point to, which is kind of upsetting, not going to lie.
You lost some of your content too, didn't you? Like at least one video.
I lost a month and a half worth of content, but luckily at the time, all of my content was backed up on both my computer and a separate website.
That's good.
So I was able to get it all re-put in.
Dude, that is... Someone like just in the audience said it's like your identity, and that's true. Like, this channel is a reflection of me and who I am, and like, I take responsibility and pride in it, and that is a horrifying thought.
It was not a fun experience. I wish never to repeat it. Luckily, though, now that I've gone through it, anybody else who has this happen, I can sit down and go, okay, here's the number you call. Here's what you need to do. Here's what to expect. Here's the information to have ready for them, because these are all the things they're going to ask for you. I have all of that just in a backlog folder now, in case this happens to somebody else I care about.
Well, I do have a follow-up question then. We are now on like week 8 that I'm waiting for YouTube monetization, despite meeting like all the criteria. It's been in pending, and other people are getting monetized in like 2-3 days, some even a day. Do you have a number that I can call to get that straightened out?
Do I have a number you can call? No, because what's going to happen is a YouTube representative who is not part of the monetization process is going to say, you've done everything you can, you just have to wait for the manual review. And if you push them on it, all they're going to say is, I will forward that to my superior, or I will forward that to somebody in a department that matters. Getting your monetization, as an example, if you're familiar with the channel Prophet of Zod.
I know of it.
So I was a 100 subscriber channel when Zod was 300. Zod hit 1,000 well before I did, because he was 2,000. No, he was a 2,000 sub channel when I was a 100 sub channel. That's what it was. My brain. It was our collaboration that got me to 300 subs. So he had been in the monetization algorithm forever. My channel hit 1,000 subs several months later after our collaboration, and I got my monetization after a conceded push. He still hadn't been monetized. It took him another 4 or 5 months after I got monetized, so maybe 9 months total for him to get monetized. So my advice is hurry up and wait. And I hate that that's the advice I have to give.
Well, it's sad that on one end, I actually contemplated changing my YouTube name for that very reason, because I have been told that from another atheist channel that basically YouTube auto demonetizes all your videos, and you have to get them manually reviewed after every time they air if it has the word atheist in it.
So atheist is one of the tags that can potentially lead it. YouTube has a list of red flag factors, basically, whether it be in the tags or the description, or even whether or not you swear in the first 30 seconds of a video. All of those are considered red flag factors, and YouTube YouTube takes those into account. Their bot takes them into account. And I'm starting to believe that their human review process is also not entirely accurate either, but I've got some reasons for that. That's separate. But for instance, on my channel, most of my stuff comes out green if it looks benign. And then, but the stuff that gets demonetized, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then when I send it in for a manual review, sometimes the reasons they give that we disagree on why it should be monetized are weird. One that I did on Wisdom of Odin, they were like, this has hateful content in it. I'm like, does it? Where? But it's YouTube's. So I have reason to believe that even the human review process is somewhat automated and not entirely accurate. But yeah, you have to be careful with how you tag things and how you put them in. And until you have your video manually reviewed, you can actually have it get randomly demonetized. So my suggestion to anybody who just got monetization on their channel, go back and look at your videos, please. You might find that some video you made 2 years ago that randomly pops off and the algorithm just happens to favor it that day. You might find that, yeah, it popped off, but it was demonetized the whole time, so you didn't really get anything out of that except subs. Which, you know, subs are cool, but getting paid for the work you do is also kind of cool. So I'm going to be doing things a little differently. When the super chats come in, I will have arrangements with all the hosts. There will be getting a cut of that as well, because honestly, it's only fair. They're bringing their minds to the table, and these shows wouldn't be possible without the co-host, but also without the moderators. And now the call screener, who has removed a great deal amount of stress, because before we were just kind of hoping the auto screener took it right, or I'd be like sitting on my cell phone trying to do it while doing the show. So Martin and Keith, both of you are awesome, and I really appreciate it. Brian, before we head out, do you have anything going on?
Yeah, I'm debating Otangelo tomorrow on Math Picks channel.
Wait,
Have
what?
fun with that.
Dude, he accused me and Jenna of being scared of him because we didn't want to debate religion on a mental health show.
Yeah.
What?
He's been bugging me to do it for months. I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So, yeah, that's a thing that's happening.
You have fun with that.
Someone to follow up Darth Dawkins and Matt Powell, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you've had Matty Poo. You've had Cupcake.
Yeah.
I met him in person. I was in that movie.
I'm sorry.
Atheist Religion. Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
We did a mystery science theater of it though, so it was fun.
I did his Science Falsely So Called movie. I did a mystery science theater type of deal with that, with Jim from Atheist Edge, Aaron Raw, Bionic Dance, a bunch of people. It was fun, but
that's the one where Aaron Raw called Knock a idiot.
Yep. That was the one where I ended up having Knock. He came on for the last 2 episodes of it because it was like, well, Aaron called him an idiot here. It's only fair to actually bring him on to talk later.
Yeah.
Shit. It was fun. That was also the one where Matt Powell made a video saying, look, Suris even said that what I said was true, and Aaron had to go on one of his videos and go, no, what Suris did is called granting the premise. He granted that what you said could be true and still found it bullshit.
Well, we had surfing monkeys on the last movie. It was fun stuff.
He twisted it with me on that one. He's like, so you believe monkeys built a raft and then surfed on it? And I'm like, well, the way he presented it, I was like, well, I don't think that does sound plausible. But
it's funnel rafting is what it was, sir. Just in case you hadn't seen it yet. But yeah, he's talking about the monkeys from Africa populating South America via a rafting event sometime about 40 million years ago.
And that's where you go, well, hold on. I consider myself via nested hierarchies. I am a monkey. There's primate, then monkey, then ape and great ape, and then you've got human, which is where we are. So via that, yes, I am a monkey. So do I believe that monkeys can build a raft? Well, yes. It's like asking me, do you think eukaryotes can build a raft? Yes, because I'm a eukaryotic being. What do you think?
It depends on how you use the term ape and monkey. Some people use the monkey polyphyletically, which would be all catarrhine primates to the exclusion of the Homo genus or something along those lines. But it does use ape the same way, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it can nested hierarchies when you're dealing with that can be. It basically depends on where you draw the line. For me, primate that is not monkey would be a lemur, and then you go down the monkey line and you hit further.
Yeah, everything except for the pro-simians would be a monkey. If you use monkey to mean simian.
Yes.
Is a synonym.
Well, considering that monkey is not a scientific classification of
these
animal,
terms,
it's nomenclature, which is why it can be such a ubiquitous umbrella term.
Like phylogenetically, word fish. You're a placoderm.
Phylogenetically, the word fish has no meaning.
Yeah, right.
Ethan's just sitting here like, why are you two speaking?
No, see, I have learned an important lesson is that when you cannot meaningfully contribute to a specific conversation, the best thing you can do is listen and learn and then later ask questions if necessary. I don't know enough, so I'm not going to contribute. I'm going to listen and absorb everything I can.
I only know the little bit of biological classification that I do know. I only know from people like Aaron Raw, and also the stuff that I've had to look up when I'm dealing with like your Hovind types of people, where you end up having to go down that line. And if you don't look that stuff up, you end up kind of floundering a little bit. Hell, there's videos where I've collabed with people where I've gotten stuff wrong. I got the definition of atrophy wrong on the collaboration that I did with Logic of all people. So,
well, I guess that's how one of the people, where did it go? One of these had said that's how they found you was through Logic. Oh yeah, here we go behind us.
Yeah, there's a few people actually who found me through that collaboration, and some of them are actually really good friends now.
Well, it makes you feel better. I found Logic through you, so.
Yeah, I actually remember the first time that somebody sent commented that they found Logic through me. I sent Logic a message with that, and I was like, dude, it finally happened. Somebody actually found you through me, even though I'm the smaller YouTuber. I think when we did our collaboration,
Rhino, just so you know.
What's up?
I found you through Rhino.
Was it the video that I threw on his channel that I faked?
I think it was. I want to say it was one of the ones where you took over his channel or whatever. So yeah,
somebody made the point that I when I do my radio voice, I sound a lot like Vice Rhino. So I was like, okay, let me see if I run the whole video as if I'm Vice Rhino, if people catch it. So I began with the whole hello and welcome to my channel. And just went through the video like that, and it was great.
How many people caught it?
There were a few, like most people caught it because I actually had the screen shatter and my avatar come up instead of Vice Rhino's. But because Rhino's content and my content at the time were very audio focused, like you get the same thing from a Vice Rhino video listening to it as you do watching it for the most part. It's a very good auditory experience. So I was like, I know that there's going to be people who are listening to this via audio. I know it. So what if I played with that? And I looked in his comment section, and there were legitimately people who were like, "Wait, I didn't realize this wasn't Vice Rhino until a minute in." It's great.
That was spot on, dude. I'm serious. Yeah.
And he does something that's when he interviewed me on his channel, he was setting up the audio very differently. So he I don't know what he does, but he doesn't pull audio the traditional way. Like we use StreamYard. He has some unique way of doing it, which apparently improves his audio quality.
I don't use StreamYard either. I use Zoom personally because it has a higher bandwidth allocation than stuff like StreamYard and Discord do. Also, there's more that I can do with Zoom than StreamYard because I stream using OBS. So I actually have a lot of tools that are available through the use of OBS. It's just more of a robust system, but it's also a very more mechanically involved system. StreamYard is very get up and go. You press the button, everybody's got their links, they can hop in, you're good. With OBS, I'm having to grab a segment of my screen, cut you out of there manually, paste you somewhere in the stream. I have to do a lot of pre-production to make things work.
I am actually in the process of trying to learn OBS so I can make those improvements on the show, like maybe putting comments or like, I don't know, unique things on the screen. And that way I can adjust the camera and stuff better. But for now, I am actually running everything through StreamYard because I'm running all this on a laptop. Like I don't have.
That's the other thing is OBS is processor heavy.
Exactly. And this StreamYard is great because on my end, essentially my computer is my mixer. You know, most people have these like really nice external ones and run audio really fancy. I don't have that. So I just have like this, what's it called? An internal coax cable where it routes the audio back into itself. And then I use Google Voice with Call-in Studio, link those together. And then with StreamYard, I share my screen with the audio tab and just remove myself from the stream. And that's how we get audio.
That is an adorable praying mantis, by the way.
Isn't it though?
And for the record, the reason, so Suris came in his full uniform, and I asked him not to. That was only because this show is kind of about like building bridges and connecting with people, and people get more when they can make eye contact with you. And you know, we are tackling tough topics, which sometimes people get offended simply by asking questions. So I just try my best to eliminate any other additional difficulties because people get heated sometimes. I reference back to a psychic we had a few weeks ago. She got infuriated by the questions my co-host Kenneth was asking. So,
Kenneth.
Also, so every Tuesday, The Perspective is live at 7 p.m. Central. Next week, Katie Montgomery will be co-hosting with myself. And then every Thursday, I have a show at 9 p.m. with Hannah Vaughn. It's dating, relationships, and sex. This Thursday, we're going to have Arden of Eden on to discuss sex work. And then every Sunday, I have a show with Jenna Belk on mental health. And that's on youtube.com/Ethan and Jenna Show. Also, thank you to my patrons, Jonathan Friedel, Cindy Plaza, Kenneth Leonard, Kathy Letto, JumpandShoot, Ian Oz, Philip Leitch, Kaitlyn Beyond. Yeah, all of you are awesome. And Suris, thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Hey, Bandaid. Are you a good boy now? Yeah, you're a good boy? Say hi. Good boy.